Speaker of the National Assembly,
for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, before proceeding with the debate, I would like to thank all honorable members for making the effort to be here at such a short notice. This is the second fully physical sitting of the National Assembly following the COVID-19 and the parliamentary fire which destroyed our chamber. The Secretary will now read the order of the day.
Consideration of the report of the independent panel established in terms of Rule 1294Q to conduct a preliminary inquiry relating to a motion proposing an inquiry in terms of Section 89 of the Constitution of 1996.
Honorable members, on the 22nd November 2018, the House adopted rules to provide for procedures to give effect to Section 89 of the Constitution. The report of the independent panel established in terms of these rules is now before the House, and after the debate in terms of Rule 12913, the House must resolve to proceed or not to proceed with an inquiry by an impeachment committee of the Assembly. Point of order.
No, thank you very much, Speaker. I'm raising on a point of order to say that despite our repeated requests as different political parties that today's voting on the Section 89 panel report that it must be conducted through a secret ballot. You opportunistically yesterday responded to us, never gave us a chance to could even subject that to review because it is objectively and conclusively reactionary and suppressive of the democratic process and rights of members of parliament to want to say that they must vote on an open ballot on a very sensitive issue when they've got threats from their own political parties. The Constitution, the Constitutional Court, has said that we have got an obligation as members of parliament not to represent our parties, but to represent the people of South Africa without fear, without any form of intimidation. And now we are here in a situation which decisively should hold a president accountable. And you have denied us of utilizing a secret ballot, which in this basis is the only rational way to conduct this particular process. There is no any other way to hold a president accountable, because these members of parliament,
Honorable member,
majority of them are
thank
willing
you.
to then exercise their
I've
democratic right,
understood
but you have
issue
denied
you are
us that
raising.
particular
Thank you.
opportunity.
Take your
It's
seat.
irrational what
Order.
you've done.
Take your seat. Thank you. May you please take your seat. Honorable member, we are now at a point where the report is being tabled and there will be a debate, and maybe what you want to raise, you can raise it at that point. We are not at a point, honorable member, we are not at a point where we are voting or not for the report. We are not at that point. All right, okay, sorry. Honorable Dr. Dlozi, let me start. The person that pending is closer city, and I had to hold back. We haven't seen you in Parliament, and the first time we see you, you are heckling. Yes, Honorable Zakute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I just want to remind all of us sitting here, especially the chief whips of all political parties. We had a special NAPC meeting where this matter was discussed. So today we are dealing with a report. According to the rules, the report needs only 134 members plus one to approve it. So we agreed in that special NAPC meeting that the method of voting that we are going to use today. So we cannot have people with afterthoughts come and try to derail the proceedings of this House. So the method of voting was agreed.
Honorable Malema.
Thank you, Speaker. I would like you to call Honorable Doris to order, because you know, sitting there, that you cannot cite a rule she was standing on. She was not standing under any rule. And don't do that when you are presiding over Parliament. So what she said, she was out of order, and please rule her
members,
out of
please,
order, please.
I can hardly hear, please. Honorable member. Okay, honorable members, I see you at the hand, but I will not allow you to speak at the back. I won't allow you for now to speak. Allow me, honorable members, to make this ruling. Honorable members, the Speaker is empowered to exercise her discretion in determining the voting method to be employed to decide questions before the House, where no voting method is prescribed in the rules of the Assembly. In deciding whether to have an open or secret ballot on the vote, the Speaker must be guided by the constitutional requirement to enable effective accountability while simultaneously maintain transparency and openness. For the Speaker to deviate from the principle of openness it must be established that an open ballot is not likely to ensure effective accountability, and that circumstances exist that would most likely prevent a free expression of the will of the members of the National Assembly. Honorable members, I have considered the request for a vote by secret ballot and have communicated my decision and the reasons for my decision in this regard. It is sufficient, please lower your hand until I finish, please. It is sufficient to reiterate that a parliamentary environment is always a highly politicized space and can never be entirely free of political tensions, either between or even within parties. I do not believe that the atmosphere is so toxified or so highly charged that members of the sub-assembly would be prevented from exercising their vote on this question in accordance with their conscience using an open voting procedure. This is borne out by the various views that have been freely and publicly expressed over the last days. I further wish to reiterate that an open and transparent procedure followed by the Assembly to exercise this important decision on the Section 89 Independent Panel Report can only bring about public trust and confidence in the National Assembly and our democratic dispensation. I therefore stand by my decision to decline the request for a vote by secret. Honorable members, order. Yes, Honorable Shivambu.
We want to stand to reject that decision, and then we want to express that through a vote. That can we be allowed to vote on whether we can use secret ballot or not? So we are proposing, family, that before we proceed with this process, we should be allowed to vote on your decision now.
It's a point of order, Honorable Shivambu.
It's an issue that we have to then deal with in that particular fashion. Please.
There's a point of order. Honorable member, yes, you have the floor.
We are proposing division of the House on that question.
Please take your seat. I've noted you made your point.
And the division must be secret as well.
No, please take your seat, Honorable member. Honorable member, please. Honorable member. Honorable member, behind the mic here. Behind the podium. Yes, you may have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker. Honorable Peggy Hadebe, Rule 8, Sub-Rule 3 and Sub-Rule 2, read in conjunction with Rule 92, Sub-Rule 11. Speaker may make rulings and all members are obliged to comply with the rulings. The ruling of the Speaker cannot be questioned, challenged or questioned in this House. I so move. Thank you.
Speaker.
I thank you, Honorable Member.
Speaker.
Hold on, Honorable Members.
Speaker, I've been raising my hand.
I've seen you and I noted you. Take a seat. Sit down. Take a seat. Honorable Zungula, take a seat.
Don't shout.
Take your seat. I will give you an opportunity. Take a seat. Take your seat.
Do not shout.
Take your seat.
Do not shout.
Honorable members, Honorable Malema, Honorable shouting actually, Honorable Malema. You are. You are. You know what? I am not going to allow you to disrupt this session. I will not. You can rest assured. Honorable Zungula, you'll recall that earlier on I did say that I noted your hand. You may now take the floor. Thank you.
Speaker,
Honorable Malema, please provide leadership. You shouted first. Salapansi, Tula, Tula. Take the floor, Honorable Zungula.
Speaker, I think the first thing you must not do, Speaker, do not note me, and then you note other people, and then after you come back to me, and you shout. That is the first thing. The second thing, Speaker, is that the powers of Speaker do not belong to you personally. You must not use your personal views on how a decision is taken in Parliament, because the powers that you have belong to the people of our country. The Constitutional Court ruled that under such circumstances, there are threats, Speaker, that members of the ruling party have been given by their chairperson, that should they vote differently towards the party instruction, they are going to be expelled.
Order, honorable members, I can hardly hear. Honorable members, please allow me, I have to hear, I can't hear. Yes, Honorable Zungula.
So there are existing threats, Speaker. The chairperson, who is a minister, is here, can confirm that he has threatened members of Parliament. If they vote differently from what they've decided as a party, they are going to be expelled. How can you say that is not reason enough to grant a secret ballot? We've got Honorable Nyonso, who also received a death threat. He's gone to the police station to open a case. Why don't you think that is reason enough to grant a secret ballot?
Thank you, honorable member. Honorable Mr. Klaso, there's something wrong with the system. There is something wrong with the system. I can hardly hear from here. Thank you. Honorable members, I have made a ruling, honorable members, and I propose that we proceed with the debate on this matter. We proceed with the debate on this matter and allow for parties to express their views on the matter. And once done, you then make the remarks which you had already uttered, Honorable Shivam. The point is, all parties who had written to the Speaker has since responded to all of the matters which you raised and referred parties to a decision of the National Programming Committee, which we had, where parties proposed on their own. It was actually proposed by the chief whip of the majority opposition party, that we should go the route of a roll call. And they were supported by the chief whip of the EFF and other honorable members. And what I have since done as Speaker, honorable members, please allow me to finish, because I am recapping the events of the past few days. And since then, the decision of the Speaker stood. Subsequently, I received letters from various parties who were part of that National Programming Committee, which took a decision on how this vote will be conducted. And therefore, honorable members, you must have noted that in those letters, I did remind you about the decisions which we took. And it is on the basis of that, honorable members, that I am requesting that we proceed with the debate on this matter. The report is before you.
Cameras of Busasa, who's threatening his own members. On top of the solo of Busasa cameras, there is another threat where members of parliament have received death threats from the underworld which these people are working with, that if we vote in the opposite, we are going to be killed. That development, when you wrote the letter rejecting a secret ballot, was not there. And it is on the basis of that we are rising here now, that you may want to reconsider your decision because there are these developments which were not there when you wrote your letter, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Malema. Honorable members, order. Order. Just as a reminder, I have received, no man, you can't make reference to somebody being a liar here now. Honorable members, in all the letters which I have received from political parties who are appealing the decision of the NCA, of the National Programming Committee, none of this information was contained in that report. Yes, correct. Now I am saying, honorable members, thank you. Honorable members, I'm informed by Mr. Kaso that this morning there was a case which was reported to the police. Honorable members, please, man, let's not be rowdy. Just listen. Allow me to finish. I have made a determination on the basis of your own submissions. I've also made a determination on the basis of the National Programming Committee meeting which we held last week, right? Now, and I did apply my mind to that. And I took a decision based on the submissions, but also based on the decision of the NAPC. And now, the police, I am informed by Mr. Klaso, are currently investigating that matter. So that matter right now is not a subject for discussion. What we are discussing is the report before us, honorable members. That is what we are seized with now. It is the report before us. Honorable, there was, did I recognize you? Okay. Yes, Honorable Mente.
Speaker, when we wrote to you, this development was not there. And you are correct, you responded to us on the basis of the facts we put before you. Immediately after we have received your response, there was this development. Now, we are going to suggest that let's take 5 minutes, go and apply your mind, and come back with a new ruling. People are going to die, and you are going to have blood in your hands. Because when they vote against what the Minister of Minerals threatened about, they are going to be killed. And their blood is going to be in your hands.
Honorable members, order. Order, Honorable Nhlangwini, please. Honorable members, you have made reference to a statement made by the Honorable Mineral Minister of Minerals. I do not want to talk to a matter which has nothing to do with me. However, honorable members, I do not recall that in the statement there was a death threat to anyone. Can we correct that? Can we correct that? There was no death threat directed at any one of you and us by the chairperson. There may have been other things which he said, but I do not recall reading or hearing that the chairperson has threatened people with death. I do not recall that. That man you were referring to. Honorable Zungula.
Speaker,
Yes, Honorable Zungula,
when you responded, Speaker, to our
followed
letters,
by Honorable Khatebe.
when you responded to our letter, Speaker, you never dealt with the issue of the national chairperson who was threatening members of parliament. In all of your letters and responses, that has not been addressed. That is the first thing. The second thing, Speaker, is that last night, members of parliament received death threats via SMS stating should they vote in favor of the report, their days are numbered. That is last night. Now, I want to come to you again, Speaker, and say I agree with the submission by Honorable Mende. If you want to take 5 minutes to apply your mind again, please do so. But your decision that the voting method today will be via an open method, that decision is irrational. That decision, Speaker, does not take into account the circumstances that we find ourselves in, where members are threatened on their lives, they are threatened on their livelihoods. So please apply your mind once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. There's a hand there. I'm sorry, Honorable Member there. Yes, please.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Khatebe, I was referring to
Is it
that
Khatebe
member
or
there.
myself?
Sorry, Honorable Pando. Honorable Member. Oh, Honorable Pando, you may proceed. Honorable Khatebe now is...
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise in terms of the rules, both with respect to how we should address honorable members of the House. You allowed, Honorable Speaker, members to refer to Honorable Dlakude as Doris, which is unparliamentary in terms of the rules. Secondly, you have allowed that aspersions should be cast or can be cast against the Minister of Minerals and Energy. As far as I'm aware, there is no chairperson of the ANC in this House. There is Honorable Mandashe, who's an elected member of Parliament. And I would ask, Speaker, that given these spurious points of order by people who are afraid that their Phantom 42 will be proven to be phantom, they are now merely misleading the House and delaying a debate they know they have lost. I therefore request you to allow the House to proceed, Honorable Speaker.
I thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Members. Yes, Honorable Khatib.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm also rising on the point of order of Rule 85. There were aspersions which were cast on the Minister of this House, Honorable Mandashe. I think that whatever was raised against him, it can only be done through the substantive motion. So I think that there must be a ruling around that. Number 2, Chair, Honorable Zungula is not a shop steward of the ANC. He cannot come and tell us how we run our organization. ANC has got its own system of dealing with these things. So a leader of a 2-member party cannot tell a gigantic organization like the ANC how it should run its affairs. So we must get off, we must deal with this report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable members, a matter has been raised here by Honorable Pando, and I must say that I missed that. I did not hear. Maybe it was at a time when there was a problem with the system, and I will therefore study the Hansard. And once I have studied the Hansard, I will rule on the matter. Honorable members, hold on, Honorable Member. I had noted a member right at the back. I'm sorry, Honorable Member, that I've not, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Sit down, Honorable Kyangi. You did not have your hand up. Honorable Member.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise in terms of Rule 92.
Honorable members, please order.
Can you call me where? Kamu. I rise in terms of Rule 92, subsection 3, that when a member rises to address this House, must mention the point in terms of the rules of the National Assembly upon which he rises. Now, there is a request from my far right that some self-appointed shop stewards have been making reflections on the discussions that we had earlier on as a movement called the African National Congress. It is incorrect for people to speak on our behalf. It is wrong for people to suggest that we have been threatened if they are not bringing that as a substantive motion as per Honorable Khatib. Let us not be subjected to political gymnastics and people who are dreaming about some discussions that they are afraid to undertake. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable members, I am now ruling on this matter. And that ruling is that I have allowed you adequate time to raise at times spurious points of order, and I will not allow for a continuation of that now. I now rule that we proceed with the debate on the report, honorable members. Honorable members, we now proceed with the debate on the independent panel report, and I now call on the Honorable Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Somlomo obekekileyo. Somlomo obekekileyo. Usekela Mongameli. Amalungi onke ombutho akhoyo apha namalungu eParlamente. Namhlanje amahlo esizwe athentsho kule ngxoxo mpikiswano ngomba obaluleke kakhulu kwimbali yendlu yowiso noqingqo mthetho. Nakwisizwe soMzantsi Afrika ngokubanzi siphawula ngengxelo yophando olwenziwe ligqiza elizimeleyo leenkcuba buchopho zomthetho malunga nebholo lokubiwa kwemali kwifama kamongameli umnumzana uCyril Matamela Ramaphosa. Kokokuqala ezimbalini zalendlu ukuba sixoxe ngokususa umongameli esihlalweni sakhe phantsi kwemigaqo yalendlu esekezelwe kwisolotya 89 ke ngoko esikwenzayo namhlanje kuyakuma njengomzekelo kwiziphakamiso ezizayo ezinokuba loluhlobo. Kakade ke elinyathelo lale mibutho iphikisayo libangela ukuba sibe kule ndawo alikho msulwa liqhinga loqhimgqosho abasoloko bezungula ichele iqela eliqulunqe esisicelo somlomo lasekwa ngabo bangqondo bugqirha ukuze liphakamise kule parlamente izindululo zokungamthembi umongameli kwaye licele uba umongameli ehle esikhundleni kudala ke bezama amatyeli ngamatyeli ukuzisa isiphakamiso sokungamthembi umongameli bekhokhelwa ngumbutho wamalungu amabini umhlekazi obekekileyo uzungula oko ezungula ichele wangena wazungula ichele kusuka ngo2019 ngo2022 oko wazungula ichele singumbutho weANC sithe sahlala phansi sanika ingqalelo kumgaqo siseko siye sandula ke ukufunda imigaqo yalendlu yowisomthetho lengxelo ayibopheleli kwinkqubo yomgaqo somlomo obelekileyo nantoni na esiyenzayo kulendlu kufuneka ibe semthethweni kuba sithi abaqulunqi bomthetho asikwazi ukukekela ke sizenze unonkala sihambe ngokwemfuno zamaqela aphikisayo kuba wona efuna isiphumo esithile kudala sibacenga ogxa bethu into yawa ukuba ngaba nifuna ulawulo makubhekwe ebantwini evotini khona ukuze nibuye nilawule kakuhle ngoqinisekileyo ke le nkqubo sikuyo ekugqibeleni iza kugqitywa ngento yoba sivote into yoba ngobani abayixhasayo nabangayixhasi le ngxelo ngoko ke kukho abanenjongo ezizezinye kule nto sikuyo eli gqiza ngokwalo liyavuma into yoba ixesha libe lincinane kakhulu
Honourable Member, I'm sorry, Honourable Chief Whip of the Majority Party. There's a point of order from Honourable Kwankwa. Yes, Honourable Kwankwa.
Okay. And thank you very much, Speaker.
Salapansi
I rise on a point of order and parliamentary language.
and
Uthe uchief whip zinengqondo zamagqwirha uthi siyathakatha. Sicela irhoxiselo.
okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Honourable Chief Whip, will you please withdraw that akuna magqwirha apha? Withdraw, Honourable Chief Whip.
hayi ndizawurhoxa kodwa ibingatsho uba bangamagqwirha ibithi ngqondo bugqwirha kodwa ke xa utshoyo somlomo ngokuzithoba ndiyarhoxa
Enkosi, thank you. Proceed.
igqiza ebeliphanda likhokelwa ngujustice ungcobo libhale ingxelo likhokhelwa bubulungu nobungqina obubekwe phambi kwayo elisolotya likwingxelo lihlwayela imbewu yentandabuzo kwabaninzi abaye bayifunda le ngxelo baninzi ke oompondo zihlanjiwe bezomthetho abathe besakuyifunda le ngxela bakhwela bezehlela kwigqiza thina siyi-ANC siyayihlonipha indima ethathwe leli gqiza kwaye asinakuze sihlasele nakanye sithi bawenzile umsebenzi ithi loo nto thina balapha kule ndlu yoqingqo mthetho funeka siyebuyele siyolungisa ii-rules zethu ngoba zenze bangakwazi usebenza ngokugqibeleleyo somlomo obekekileyo nendlu leyo yowisomthetho igqiza elizimeleyo alikwazanga ukufikelela kwinqontsonqa yobungqina bokuchaza ukuba umongameli waphule mthetho mnina kwisinina lithi igqiza libotshwe izandla ngusection 129 kodwa amaqela aphikisayo athi masiqhubeke thoba umoya sisi siyokuzingela ubungqina ngethemba lokuba bungavela ngenye imini thina singumbutho wesizwe sithi kungxanyelwe phina nto zakuthi sitsho ukuba amaziko asibhozo ayaphanda masivumele la maziko aphande aqoshelise kuphanda amapolisa kuphanda uvimba womzantsi Afrika kuphanda iNPA kuphanda umkhuseli woluntu masibalinde baphande baqoshelise hleze ke emva koba beqoshelisile singabuya size apha kulendlu sizothetha into yimbi okwangoku asinazo iinkcukacha ezaneleyo somlomo sithathela ingqalelo inyathelo likamongameli lokusa ingxelo kwigqiza
kwinkundla yomgaqo siseko kodwa asibanjwanga yilonto into yoba singaxoxi sithi ingxelo ayigqibelelekanga umbutho wesizwe yeAfrican National Congress ayisekeli ayixhasi le ngxelo de kubekho ubungqina obubambekayo bokuba kutheni kufuneka siyivotele nokuba ingabuya kulonyaka ozayo noba ingabuya ngomso uba ngaba iza inento ebambekayo sizawuxoxa lonto ikhona okwangoku ayinasihlahla le ngxelo ikhoyo masivumele kuqhutywe iba ngumnqa ke into yoba bonke abantu bafuna ukuthethela iANC namalungu wayo abajoyinanga eminye imibutho bajoyine iANC mayinikwe indawo yayo ixoxe ngamalungu wayo isebenze njengokuba nawena amalungu avota ngolhlobo nifuna ngawo yekani ukufuna i-secret vote nizifunele iANC ulawulo aluthathwa lutsalwe ngomsila alungenwa ngosango lakwasemva ubheka pha ujongane nevote uze abantu bakubeke sithi ke okwangoku asixhasi le ngxelo siyi-African National Congress sithi makuzobunye ubungqina esinokwazi ubuxhasa manibulele kakhulu somlo.
I thank you, honorable members. I thank you, honorable member. The next on the floor will be the honorable, the leader of the opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. 11 days ago, Mr. President, you were ready to quit. Your mind was made up, the speech was written, and you had resigned yourself to resign. And this wasn't some noble sacrifice to your country. No, you were going to resign from office because the alternative was unthinkable to you and potentially fatal to your party. The alternative would mean answering questions before a committee of Parliament about the large stockpile of money that you had hidden away in your farmhouse. Money that you claim was nothing other than a Christmas Day buffalo shopping, combined with some lax admin and poor bookkeeping. But let me assure you, Mr. President, not many people in this House, and even fewer people out there, believe that you have been truthful about the origin of the money, why it spent 2 months hidden in your sofa, what you'd intended to do with it, or why you tried for 2 years to cover up evidence that it ever actually even existed. Those questions all remain unanswered. And it was the prospect of having to answer them under oath that convinced you to write your resignation speech. That is how damaging the Phala truth is to you personally, and clearly also to your party. And it was only when your ANC comrades reminded you about how the ANC normally deals with these inconveniences, how easily the ANC is willing to abuse its majority in this House to crush any notion of accountability, that you then decided to cancel your resignation. Satisfied that the protection of your caucus would make the questions simply go away, you decided then to step back into the ring. And of course, we've been here before, and not so long ago. We all sat in this House, debate after debate, vote after vote, and watched the ANC majority shield Jacob Zuma from half a dozen motions of no confidence and 1 impeachment vote. We had to watch an embarrassment as shameless MPs all nodded in agreement with the ridiculous Firepool video. Our Parliament became the laughing stock of the world as 250 grinning and heckling ANC MPs reduced this once august House into a mindless defender of the indefensible. And when Judge Zondo wrote his final report on state capture, never again and his handlers. Never again would Parliament be declawed and disempowered as it was in those dark days. Not under this president who rode into town majestically on the promise of a new dawn and pledged to do things differently. And yet, here we are again. Then it was in Kandla. Now it's Phala. Then it was fire pools and cattle kraals. Now it's couches stuffed with dollars. Then it was President Jacob Zuma. Now it's President Cyril Ramaphosa. But it's exactly the same modus operandi. As long as you got the numbers in Parliament, you can make any scandal go away. And if that's how you intend to vote today, in one unified shield against accountability and oversight, just like you did in the Zuma days, then shame on you. And President Ramaphosa, if that's what you expect and demand of your caucus, after everything we've been through in the wake of state capture and the Zondo report, then you, sir, are no different to your predecessor. So I ask that every member thinks carefully about what today's vote means. We're not voting to find a president innocent or guilty. We're not weighing up evidence to reach a verdict. That will only happen later. Today is about letting due process take its course. It's about acknowledging, as the authors of the report did, that there are big questions that remain unanswered, and that it can only be solved by an inquiry undertaken by this House. And that is the test before us today. Have we learnt anything from the past, or are we prepared to once again break our Parliament in defense of a leader who doesn't want to be accountable? Our country cannot afford the turmoil that will come with the president fighting for his political life and his skin. We don't have the luxury of time, and we're in trouble. We have an electricity crisis. We have a crime crisis with our citizens under daily attack. We have an unemployment crisis where 43% of our citizens, most of them under 30, cannot find a job. For 60 million South Africans, these crises are real. And we need a president with both hands on the wheel, both eyes on the road, and a head in the game. And so, honourable members, you do have a choice today. And the world is watching your decision. So I ask every member in the House today, remember your oath of office. Remember who you're meant to serve. And then vote in favour of adopting this report. Thank you.
I thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable J.S. Malema.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Mr. President, we must begin by expressing our deepest disappointment in you as an individual who has been celebrated as one of the architects of the Constitution of South Africa. On the 10th of December 1996, you sat head and shoulder with President Nelson Mandela and committed this country and yourself to abiding by the rule of law and to protect and defend the Constitution that President Mandela signed on that day. You vowed in front of the world that you will hold sacrosanct the ideals of accountability and transparency which is enshrined in the Constitution without fail. Today, 26 years after you held Nelson Mandela's hand, lifted our Constitution high into the air, you stand as the greatest enemy of constitutionalism and accountability. As a so-called architect of the Constitution, you have resolved to take Parliament of South Africa to court to avoid constitutional obligation of accountability. As a so-called crafter of our democratic dispensation, you are accused of engaging in activities that characterized a criminal underworld. As a so-called champion of accountability to masses of our people, you today avoid scrutiny and questioning like a fugitive. Mr. President, your reluctance to allow inquiry into the activities of Phala Farm are shocking and concerning. You are so desperate to avoid any type of investigation into the crimes that have occurred at and in relation to Phala Farm that you have decided to spit in the face of the freedoms and institutions so many fought and died for. It is concerning because it means worse has happened in the farm that you do not want people of South Africa to know. Instead of using the process of the impeachment inquiry to clear your name, you have mobilized your party to fight against an attempt to discover the truth of what happened in Phala farm. Mr. President, you stand accused of theft from the people of South Africa. You stand accused of violating your oath of office and of violating the Constitution. You have stashed money in mattresses and allegedly avoided paying taxes. It is now accepted fact that you did not declare millions of foreign currency kept in your sofas to the South African Reserve Bank. It is now an undeniable fact that you have engaged in paid work while occupying the office of the President of South Africa. It is an undenied fact that your answers regarding Phala farm are unreliable because they change depending on the audience you speak to. It has become clear that you have no intention of taking responsibility for the crimes of Phala farm, because at every opportunity you blame vulnerable staff members of the crimes, staff members who can only operate under your instructions. If you are not blaming staff, you are compromising investigative institutions and casting aspersion on those who make damning findings. You have degenerated and you are clinching to power under the instruction of a faction that is desperate to control the levers of state power at the expense of the people of this country. Mr. President, I want to remind you that I warned you of surrounding yourself with yes men and women who will ill-advise you in the interest of their stomach. I warned you that you should not allow factionalism to dictate the decision you take when it comes to South Africa. I warned you that the Ruperts and the Oppenheimers will not be there to defend you when we ask you to account for the decisions you implement on their behalf. I warned you of how patronizing factions can be because they will never tell you the truth. Now you have decided to take your very own parliament to court because you have allowed factions to guide your decision-making instead of your integrity and conscience. You have engaged in questionable activities such as alleged laundering of money, the abduction of suspects of crime, the misuse of state resources, because the Ruperts and the Oppenheimers made you feel like you are untouchable. Today, we are touching you because you are not in the pockets of your faction or your handlers. We are touching you because we knew that white monopoly capital will use you and toss you aside. Mr. President, you should be ashamed that you have become the enemy of what so long defined your legacy. Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, we declare without fear of contradiction that you are an enemy of the Constitution of South Africa. From today, you will be treated like a real constitutional delinquent. No amount of numbers can intimidate us into silence. We have done this before, we will do it again. What if the President of South Africa is a spy? What if the spy is paid in foreign currencies? Why are the members of the ruling party not concerned to want to find the truth if their president is not in the pockets of foreign agents? What have you become so much that you are scared to hold one individual accountable in defense of our Constitution? As we sit here today, you have an opportunity to choose an individual over the Constitution of South Africa, to choose thuggerism over accountability. But all of you must know that history will judge you harshly. It is this man who held the hand of Nelson Mandela and said the Constitution of South Africa is above all of us. Today is the same man who's peeing on the